So I have the elevations and the roof plan completed, and now I want to talk a little bit about floor plans. So if I go to this top view, I have the roof plan sort of obscuring the view. Now I could always hide that and perhaps remove hidden objects from the view. But one of the problems is that I don't see the dashed line that represents the edge of the roof. So typically in an architectural floor plan, anything that's over your head, you indicate with this dashed or hidden line. So that has disappeared. And also, we're actually just looking at the tops of these walls. Typically, an architectural floor plan has an imaginary horizontal plane that cuts through elements of the plan. Typically, it's about 4 feet. And the reason for that is you're capturing, typically windows would be visible in the floor plan at that level. And you also can see some elements below, like furniture or stairs and things like that. But if I go any higher, I might be above the window, and so the window wouldn't show. So this is actually looking at the tops of the walls minus the roof. So the way to generate a floor plan in this case would be to use a section plane. You'll find the section plane tool along with the tape measure and some of the other annotative features. It's this one right here, section plane. And what I'm going to do is just bring it over, and basically you can align these with a horizontal surface or a vertical surface. This will be in alignment with or parallel to a horizontal surface, and I'll just place it. Okay, now you don't see anything from this view. To visualize where this is, you can go to one of the elevations. All right, and when I zoom in here, I can see this orange line is now visible. That is the section plane. All right. Now, as I mentioned, typically in a floor plan, that horizontal plane would be about 4 feet above the ground. My walls are 8 feet. So if I was to move them down or move it down 4 feet, and you can see as I go through the move command that it's starting to drop. Okay. Now let's say I go to a 3D view. You can see I'm seeing part of the walls, not the full wall. Okay. So when I go back to the top view and I can deselect, what I'm looking at here is a floor plan. Oops. Let's go back. Is a floor plan, and it's showing the cuts through the walls. It's showing things below, like the stairs. And the one thing that it's missing is showing the roof plan. Again, normally in an architectural plan, we would see that roof plane as a hidden or dashed line. Anything above the cut would appear that way if it's significant. So that's one problem with this. So this works as sort of as a floor plan, though it's missing some content that would be preferable to show. Okay, so to create a floor plan of this, you would follow the same process that you did for the roof plan. I'm just going to check a couple of things. I want to make sure the section planes don't show. I'm going to turn off, or no, I'm going to leave off axes. I want to keep the section cut. Let's see what happens if I uncheck this. Okay, now I'm not seeing the roof, but you may have noticed that the line weight of those walls changed. It's slightly lighter. Let me check it back on. You see how they got heavier? Okay, I don't want the guides to show, and I don't necessarily need to see the section planes. Okay, so this drawing is ready to be converted to a scene, except I'm going to add the same visual style that I've been using on my other views, which is this one. And again, you need to use your judgment about which one to use. And I'll go back down to the scenes and add a new scene. Say, okay. So that's scene 19, and I'm going to call this one floor plan. And I will export that drawing. Okay. We'll download it as a PNG file. Now going back to a 3D view, I have partial wall heights. This might be a kind of an interesting drawing to include, but I think in this case, what I'd like to do is move the section plane up a little bit so I see more of the wall. So I had moved it down 4 feet. I'm going to go back to my elevation view, click on that plane and move it back up 4 feet or maybe a little bit under that. How about 42 inches? Okay, so now I'll see almost the full wall. And I'll go back to my 2D view. And I've already got the style set, the one that I want to use. I'm going to get this a little bit more centered in the window. And I'll go ahead and create a scene for this one. And I'll scroll down to that view, and I'm going to name this one 3D view from southwest. Okay, so I can toggle back and forth that. Okay. Now I can bring in another section plane, this time a vertical one. You notice like when I move around, it allows me to align it to one of the walls. Okay. So right now that plane is located right at the surface of that vertical plane. And in this case, I've got a ramp here and a stair on the other side. If I want those to become more a part of the view, what I need to do is move that section plane. So I'm going to click on the move tool here, and I'm going to move it over 36 inches. And I'll zoom in a little closer. Okay, and I think in this case, I'm going to turn on that roof plane. I'm going to unhide it. Okay, so when I come in a little closer, you can see that I'm cutting through the ramp. Now it's a little bit small, so I'm not getting a whole lot of detail, but I think for this one, what I would suggest you do is to zoom in as close as you can. One thing that it didn't capture is the section through this portion of the platform. I can see the ramp going up. I can see the landing, this part of the ramp going up, but that platform is not included in the same color of cut. And I think it's because that platform, I didn't completely close the component when I was making the group. So I've repaired that section that wasn't showing before. And I also turned on some of the components in the view. So the people are on in this one, and I've added my benches back in place. You can decide whether or not you want to show the roof plane for this, which one looks better. So if I did unhide, it kind of covers a lot of stuff. So, you use your judgment and decide whether or not that should show. I'm going to turn, for the display, I'm going to turn that off. And I'm also zoomed in to kind of get a closer look at some of the elements. And I'm going to go ahead with what I see here and proceed with making the scene. So I'll add the scene now. Okay. And I'm going to name this one 3D section view. Okay, and I could also tell it, from southwest, just to make it clear in case I make some more. And I will export those 3 new views, the floor plan, the 3D view from southwest, and the 3D section view from southwest.